Okay, so what if we're biologically too old to fulfill our dreams, to live out our dreams? Is there such a thing? Does that actually exist? Well, I know the question exists. It exists right here. And I watched a video yesterday by Rick Beato, and it was called "The Video I Was Afraid to Make." That was kind of the thumbnail or the title or the hook. And it really stuck me. It really hit me really hard, because if you don't know who Rick Beato is, okay, first of all, I'll see who he is, and then what the video was, and then I'll kind of respond to my impressions of the whole topic, because there's a lot of nuance there, but okay, important stuff. So Rick Beato is one of the coolest guys on the internet, one of the best people, I would say, on the internet. He has a huge, like million subscriber channel. Actually, he has a couple of channels, but like his main one, which I think is called Rick Beato. Well, if you do any music at all, if you're interested in music at all, you surely know who he is. Okay, he has so he started out making very esoteric musical subjects, like music advanced, like really advanced music theory stuff, and he had a whole series called "What Makes This Song Great." He had vids about his, I think that was actually his first video, about his kid has perfect pitch, like insane levels of perfect pitch. He'd play 18 notes on the piano, glong, and his kid would just name all the notes. It's very impressive. But, and he started out like that, and he's still, he's basically making quite arguably the best musical content. He's up there certainly with Adam Neely and maybe Anthony Fantano, though he's more on the music criticism, if you like, spectrum of the scale. But Rick Beato is the guy who makes cool music videos, and if you're a musician, if you're a practitioner, for me he's the guy. Okay. Because it's super insightful, super advanced, playing info, theory info, but also, the passion of the music info. He has interviews with Sting and Peter Frampton and all that nowadays because he's become huge. But he had a video on John Sebastian Bach. He made a pilgrimage essentially to Leipzig, I think, and it was one of the most touching things. I cried. I actually cried when I watched that video because it was so deep and powerful, and because I love Bach so much. But that's just to say that Rick Beato is a cool guy, and his video is excellent. But why was he afraid of making it? Well, essentially what he's putting forth is a hypothesis or theory he has, which is based on observation, which is all the music he's listened to and analyzed. And he started with the observation that, all the best guitar solos, and name any guitar solo of any of your favorite guitar solos, is basically how he presents it. And how many of those are played by 20-year-olds, from 20 to 30? And he says, well, are any of them by people older than that? Okay, it's all 20-year-olds or up to 30, but essentially no more than that. And he says, well, look at Beethoven and look at Mozart, the Requiem. He was 35, I think, when he died. But all these great masterpieces, they're written by older people, older men, like the late Beethoven string quartets, which are, they're really good. Or the later piano concertos. They're astounding, like they're transcendent pieces of work, right? But he says, they're these amazing, says Rick Beato, they're these amazingly powerful masterpieces. But this is the crucial point. they are not using the same part of the same type of intelligence or creativity as kids shredding on the making like the kick-ass guitar solo as a 20-year-old, like Robert Fripp, my favorite probably guitar solo is on the 21st Century Schizoid Man, you know, yeah, he's a kid. He's a well-experienced kid. He's already a master guitar player at that age, but he's still a 20-year-old basically. And so the Rick Beato's hypothesis is that from 20 to 30, our brain is basically more plastic, and it's more subject to getting extravagant ideas, out-of-the-box ideas, more creative ideas. You know, if you listen to the Robert Fripp guitar solo, it sounds that way. Or, you know, like Peter Frampton, Do You Feel Like We Do, you know, on the famous album, the double album. Yeah, or the Jimmy Page solos, I guess, whatever, Tony Iommi. Okay, but, and he says when we're older, the hypothesis is that, okay, the brain becomes more fixed, set in its ways, and then it relies on knowledge and craft. So you spend all your so-called your youth, if you like, your teens and 20s, learning your chops, and then you have this super creativity. Like Bob Dylan as a 20-year-old, I've seen him say that he was writing 3 songs a day because they just came. And so now he's not writing. He's touring a lot, and I'm sure his shows are fantastic, but he's not, you know, he's not writing 3 songs a day. Yeah. So the idea is that when you grow older, that kind of fizzles out, and you rely more on your knowledge. So you've built a lot of knowledge, and that's what you tap into, and that's how Beethoven writes his this Ninth Symphony. Or he was deaf, so obviously he was relying on knowledge. Yes. But there's a bit more than that, okay, in Beethoven's case. And also there's a bit more than what I'm saying and what Rick Beato is putting forth. Because ultimately, if you really want to get the details of what he's saying, you have to check out his videos. There are nuances, which I'm not going into now. But the basic idea is this. There is a biological change. This is the hypothesis, which Beato puts forth. And it's based on reliable observations. You know, all these guitar solos, the Beethoven pieces. He doesn't mention Stephen King, obviously, but I've seen Stephen King say that when he was younger, he was writing 3,000-4,000 words a day, and now he can manage basically 1,000 words. So 3,000-4,000 words a day with a 4 or 5 hour work session, and now he has the same 4 or 5 hour work session, but he manages about 1,000 words. So he's slowed down. So that would be, once again, an argument in favor of this hypothesis. And this may be true, or there may be other explanations that nuance that hypothesis, which I might mention later, because I have my own idea on that. But the fact is that it's very possible. Mr. Beato puts forth a very convincing case that our brains change and there is reason to believe that we lose a part of our creativity. Okay, so I'll spoil it for you, I'm a 51-year-old guy. And that hit me really hard, because I've always, since my teens, I've always, like, music is my main thing, like spiritually in life, like playing music. But the fact is that for various reasons, I didn't put the time in the music I would have needed to certainly be a Beethoven right now, or or become, I wasn't a shredder at 20 years old. As a 20-year-old, I did not have the discipline and I did not put in enough work, and there were reasons for that. There are reasons for that, which I might mention here or in another video, but a big part of my trajectory was finding out what the matter was, because I wanted to, but there was a resistance, and that took up essentially my 20s and my 30s. It was basically that was the thing. Okay. And it was trauma. Spoil it again. There was some trauma, and there was a lot of bad habits at the same time, you know. But topic for another day. The fact is that, you know, when I watch, there's a song. I'm being anecdotal, but hopefully you can follow my thread here. You know, there's a song called "God Gave Rock and Roll to You." You know, it's Kiss did the cover of that, so that's the version I know. But I think the original is by Argent, and it's, you know, it's a song written as a rock star. Saying that, you know, your mission is to play rock and roll. And every time I listen to this song, you know, or even, you know, during the day, you know, I have this song in my head, and I'm like, no, God gave rock and roll to me, you see, because it is a calling. But, you know, I did not put in the hours. I did not do I did some work. I wrote a lot of songs. And in my 40s, I started, you know, putting more work. 30s, 40s, I did do my best, but I did not do enough to reach those levels, the Robert Fripp levels, or, you know, the Sting levels, or whatever, you know, obviously, or the Beethoven levels. At this point in time, I did not do it. So is it too late for me? And I don't think the point here isn't that Rick Beato is saying it's too late. Because I don't think that's what he's saying, but the point is that is what my feelings are telling me. Okay, and I'm making this video because I'm guessing that I'm not alone in this situation. And when you watch that video, many of us are likely to have the reaction that, oh my God, it's too late. I'm past it. I've missed the boat. You know? Especially now, you want to be a rock star, you want to play rock music. There is no rock. It's done. Like, rock and roll seems to be dying. There are no stadium shows, or, you know, the whole industry has collapsed. It was based on touring, which is not economically viable for most people. It certainly isn't where I live. Touring needed cheap gas to be viable. That's gone. You know, there's no, you know, what, Sunset Strip, I forget what it's called, like in LA, the street where all the glam rockers were. That's, you know, that scene is gone. There's no music industry. And all that was always a scam. You know, the music industry was always about scamming musicians, ultimately. It was always a con. But it was a con that gave us, you know, Peter Hamill, like a Van der Graaf generator, major, you know. To me, that's a musical god, Peter Hamill, or Robert Fripp, or Robert Wyatt, or Tears for Fears, or what, the Beatles, you know, all these people, right? But the Frank Zappa, if you like, well, there was an economic infrastructure, an ecosystem, a point in time, a moment in time in history and society that made Frank Zappa economically viable. And that time has gone, that ship has sailed. So society has moved on, music has moved on, it's all moved on, and maybe my body has moved on, my brain has moved on. And I would put it to you, here's where I say none of that, all that hurts, but none of it matters. Because, so what what made me not put in the work, well, it was laziness. But laziness, it's a topic. Okay, it's not usually laziness is running away from a feeling. That's what it is. And again, that's a topic that's a whole other topic. But the fact is that I did not have the tools by myself to learn self-discipline at the time because I felt bad, okay? And I was running away for stuff. I was just, again, bad habits. But ultimately what hurt me was bad habits and feelings I didn't know how to deal with, okay? And habits I can still develop right now, okay? It's certainly not too late for me to build new habits. And I'm pretty sure, I've asked, like piano players, for instance, because my number one love is piano. I've asked, piano players if I play like 1 hour a day, like actual practice, will I be able to play like the Goldberg variations in, I don't know, 10 years? And, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. That's the kind of the reaction, because we think it's out there, but it's not. With a lot of, in terms of music, certainly, you don't need, if your practice session is well organized and thoughtful, you can really get a lot out of a 10-minute exercise. Like a 5-10 minute thoughtful exercise is, if it's repeated, you can grow immensely. Okay, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so actually, in terms of getting chops, if you like, even if you're older, you can get a lot more done than you think. Okay, but that doesn't change the fact that will I be more creative or less creative? Because the thing is that I'm still 50 or past 50. Okay, so that means that certainly if the hypothesis Beato is putting forth, then my body has changed and I'm not getting all these. The muses sing differently, perhaps. But again, I put it to you that it does not matter. It doesn't matter, okay? God still gave rock and roll to you, and as long as you're breathing, okay, you have to use it. You have to use the rock and roll, okay? Because, yeah, the feelings don't matter. The stories don't matter. The calling matters. Okay. And the calling is an inner calling. And it's not mystical and woo, it's not a mental thing. It's like, no, I have to do this. Okay. And sometimes, very often, that's buried under pain and fear and all these things, which are all the things that, certainly in my case, for instance, prevented me from having that discipline and that work ethic in my 20s, for instance. But, or sometimes it's what makes it that we don't hear our calling because we're all so ingrained in our, we've buried our feelings under our habits because we don't want to feel them because they're painful. And one of the last things I'm going to say is that I suspect in that difference between a 20-year-old and a 40, 50-year-old, there might be biology, but I quite strongly suspect that there is also some of that going on. That when you're 20, very often as you grow older, okay, you get hurt. And when you get hurt, you shut down. And very often we don't realize we're doing it. But if we shut down, if we build, a wall, a fortress around our hearts, like the Sting song, what we're locking off is our ability to have that creativity. Okay, because it's the same place. Okay, the place that is open to heartbreak, okay, or to deep hurt, that wound, that openness, okay, is the same passage through which the beauty you're trying to express or put forth in the world comes from. Okay, and I'm not saying that you need to suffer. That is not what I'm saying. Okay, what I'm saying is that you need to be open to the risk of suffering. You need to be, open to whatever is out there, including the possibility that you're hurting right now, or that you might be hurt at any moment. Okay, and if you play music on stage, that's what, and certainly that's what you're doing in many ways. Okay, there's professionalism, there's things you learn to be able to perform, and there's technique and all these things. But if you're performing a heartfelt song, the thing really is to open yourself up to extreme vulnerability, and that also gives you your power. Okay. So I saw a Tom York video where he was walking off stage because somebody heckled him about some political thing, and that's why he walked off, because you're super vulnerable. People don't realize just what it means to do that, right? But what I'm saying here is that in terms of the creativity, it's the same thing. Okay, say Johann Sebastian Bach on his deathbed. He asked one of his sons, I guess, give me a piece of paper, please, with the music, the lines, give me a pen and paper. And he wrote a melody. He wrote a bit of music, and he gave back the music sheet, and he said, that is the last piece of music I will ever write. But what is that? Okay, where did that music come from? It did not come from his mind. It came from music itself. So music, it seems, it doesn't. Everybody who writes music knows this, and maybe you're more open to that part when you're 20. But no, okay. Music doesn't come from your mind, okay, or even come from you. Okay, music comes from music. Okay, music comes either from the same place that dreams come from, or to, the same, spiritual city block or something like that. So so Rick Beato was giving examples of, Miles Davis or John Coltrane, their solos in their 20s, and how fantastically more creative they were as soloists at that time. Because his main point, I think, is that you can still access probably the same level of creativity, but you need to work more at it. You're more spontaneously, creative in the moment, whereas when you get older, you need to work more at it. Okay, in terms of you have to sit down and get into a different headspace. Okay, so maybe that might be, but at the same time, there's something there. Obviously, I mean, all the examples he gives are incredibly good examples. But at the same time, a couple of years ago, for 2 years in a row, I did the one song a day challenge on another YouTube channel in French. So if you're curious, I'll put a link. But the idea is I would write a new song every day, and I did that for 2 years. And the first year, the songs were they were okay. There were a few good ones that came out, and. But in the first year, I did observe that, okay, I suspected I could do it, but obviously I did do it. Okay, they were played not very well because I hadn't been practicing a lot. And same goes for my singing, but it was not so bad. It was okay, and there were some good songs in there, songs I would still keep in my repertoire, if you like. But the next year I did it again, and I think some very good songs came out of that. And what I noticed, which again is what any working writer or musician will say when they're in that creative space, is that if you set a time each day and you decide each day I'm going to write a song at okay, I'm writing a song today no matter what happens. Especially if you set a time, the same time, like 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., whatever. Like it's always the same time. That really helps. But it doesn't. It's not necessary. Well, what did I observe? The songs always come. Okay. And yeah, by the end, some of them kind of look together because I'm kind of sound the same. There was some of that, and some of them aren't as good, obviously, because I'm physically tired. Because it's a lot of effort, because there's some stress, So the physical part plays into that, but it's more like the rest, I need to eat well to be able to keep that, that rhythm, But yeah, the songs were still coming, and I woke up 2 days ago with a song in my head, and that happens from time to time. I like a Beato sounding song, and I just quickly recorded this very basic guitar demo on this computer, this camera here, just to remember it, because writing the entire song and producing it would take me about 2-3 weeks. Like writing, if I write it right away, it will take me about a couple of hours. But the longer you wait when you have that inspiration from the Muses, the longer it takes, because you do have to get back into the groove, and then you have to record the stuff and produce the stuff, and often I need to have many takes, because whatever, but so for me, I put that in the back burner, because now I'm doing a lot of videos for many reasons, but the fact is that it's my main focus in the not too distant future is going to be writing songs, because that's my main thing, and one of the big reasons I'm making all these videos is partly to to get revenue to make that. Yes, I'm being frank here, because there's no money in music, basically. It's very hard. But what's the key point here? The key point is the music came in a dream. And it doesn't happen so often, but in the last few years, it's happened to me, 2-3 times or something like that. And so I'm saying that maybe figuratively, or maybe, literally, and we can't know, but to all intents and purposes, the music comes from the same place that dreams come from. And that includes your, dreams when you're sleeping, but also your dreams as aspirations, like the metaphor, like my dreams in life are for Rick Beato to review on my songs in his videos, that is a dream I have. But my dream is to make music that will change people's lives. I saw King Crimson quite a few times, and seeing a King Crimson show is I saw it described basically as a life-changing moment, because it's so powerful, and that is the reason to make music, because you want to heal people, and because it's much more, expressing yourself, but it's a lot more than that. It's a deep thing. You want to sing with beauty, like with the voice of beauty itself. You want to sing in unison with it. You want to be the voice of the beauty. You see, it's very, very profound and the Greeks had the Muses. The idea being that the gods send you the creativity. And I'll end on that, because it'll take us back to Rick Beato. who I love and admire. I think he's great. But in the Greeks, like in the Odyssey or the Iliad, you know, how does it begin? Well, Homer, the poet, famous poet, he says he's basically writing this super long and complex song about Greek heroes, which he's written down, and he says, I'm about to tell you this song about you know, Ulysses and Odysseus, and you know, but first things first, please, Muses, listen to me, oh Muses, because by myself I can do nothing. Everything I sing comes from your voice. And that is exactly the experience of creating anything. I know that, what's his name, Stephen Pressfield, I think, art of the true, I forget, but the famous writing books, the excellent writing books, okay, The Way of Art or something like that. He has quite a few. Well, every time he's also a novelist, like a historical novelist. Every time he sits down, I've seen him see this, I'm pretty sure I saw him say this, he starts by singing to the muses. Literally, he asks the muses, send me the creativity, and it works. And obviously it works, because it's gonna work. You know? And yeah, and Rick Beato, what made him create this YouTube channel with his kid, you know, they doing this perfect pitch thing with his kid, and making this very esoteric, you know, music theory, like very advanced music theory videos, and all the guitar, the song videos. What made him do that? The muses made him do that. Like, obviously, you know, like his deeper self, which is kind of the same thing in a way. You know? And he created something precious and beautiful for everyone. And he did that by doing something insane and crazy. And if he had asked everybody beforehand, oh, I'm going to make these videos on super complicated music theory, well, people would have said there's no way. No one cares about that. Well, 2 million people are subscribed. Like, I care about it. You know, I watched it because it's super complicated music theory. You know, there's a French guy who does kind of the same thing for very complicated music theory, classical music theory. He has tons of success, you know. But yeah, getting back to like Rick Beato, because he's such a good example. He followed his muse, and not in the, you know, head in the clouds kind of way, but like, I feel like doing this, I really feel like doing this, well, I'll do this. And things, he's following his intuition, and he's making the back videos, and some of them have very few views, and he said so. But he still makes them because it's important for him to make them. Which is, you know, completely the other approach from the YouTube advice you often hear, which is find a topic that's hot and working and make a thumbnail, and you know, and I kind of do that there's a reason to do that. There's good, if you have a YouTube channel, there's reasons to do that in a way. So I'm not knocking it, but those are like kind of techniques you can use, like the YouTube hacks or whatever, or, you know, writing a good YouTube title is good, and making a good thumbnail is good, and I'm pretty certain that Rick Beato spent some time thinking about those, making good thumbnails and good titles. So yeah, there's some of that craft and some of that learning, but he's still ultimately following his heart and his muse, which is the same thing. and which is probably why we need to open our heart to being wounded, no matter what our age. And that includes the feeling that maybe I'm past it, and all these thoughts, which are very, again, it was when I watched the video, I felt that very strongly. But I felt it, and I let my heart stay open, and God still gave rock and roll to me. And God gave rock and roll to you.